And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
Today's guest is Hillary Leehane. Hillary is a spiritual hypnotherapist who does near-death recovery, and today we're going to discuss the wonderful things she is finding through regression into the spirit realm and beyond. Hillary, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, Hillary, how did you get into this work in the first place?
Yeah, so about 8 or 9 years ago, I got heavily into near-death experience research, I guess. I'm not a researcher, but at the same time, I was like many where I just go headfirst in it, right? And I went headfirst in, I read and I watched and I consumed so much information. And I'm not sure why that started. It kind of came out of the blue really for me. So I started, consuming lots of information on near-death experiences. I myself had a couple near-death experience, experiences that really kind of stood out to me in my life. And I often wondered, what was that? And I had no idea when they happened. I didn't know about near-death experiences, but a few years after the second one, I delved into all this material and watching videos and reading on the IN's website, reading lots of information. And so I went down that path. At that time, I was training to be an industrial designer. So a product designer, really. And I was almost done university for that. And I got out into the work world and I did some work in corporate and grassroots level. And suddenly my body just kind of shut down on me. I started to have a major sleeping disorder. And a very rare sleeping disorder, apparently. But through hypnosis, I was able to recover my life back, right? And at that time, I thought, okay, I need to retrain in something that's more holistic because my body was not liking corporate. And so I went into hypnotherapy. Now the NDE recovery starts to come in at this point, and I start thinking, okay, besides helping people with anxiety and sleep disorders and weight loss, I'd love to help NDEers go through their experience again. And they may not go through their whole experience, but they might go through snippets of it or get a better understanding of it. Past research. I delved into past research with people that did NDE. I'm not sure they called it recovery, but they had sample sizes of people that had gone through having their NDEs experienced again. And the research said that, it was beneficial to these people. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I think I can maybe integrate this into my practice and take on a few NDEers. And it's interesting because it's kind of morphed into NDEs, OBEs, STEs, spiritually transformative experiences, and shared death experiences. So it's really kind of taken on a different look now. And I'll be speaking about that at the IN's conference this year. But so that's a little bit about how it's a kind of convoluted way of getting to how I got into it.
Can you share with us your experiences?
Yeah. Okay, so 20 years ago, I had an experience so both experiences happened in my sleep. And right in the morning, right before waking up. And so 20 years ago, I had an experience where I was suddenly in a tunnel, moving very quickly towards a light. And this isn't a long experience, it's very short, but I'm in this tunnel and there's purple and oranges, and I can hear a choir getting louder and louder and louder as I'm approaching the light. Now, I have no idea what that was, but I woke up, right? I woke up, and then about, I'd say going on 10 years now, 9 or 10 years ago, I had an experience again in the morning as I was sleeping of my body was laying on a beach, and I could feel the water kind of washing over my body, and I could feel myself being kind of lifted up into this light, this consuming light. And like so many experiencers talk about, this overwhelming feeling of love, and just, yeah, it was just amazing. And again, yeah, you can't really explain what it felt like. It's just incredible. At that point, I thought, I'm dying. And I said to myself, okay, I'm totally okay with this, because it felt so amazing. And then my second thought was, I don't want to leave my boyfriend, right? I don't want to leave him. And just like that, back in the body. And I woke up. So I don't know. It's up to interpretation, but who knows what those were. But they were all part and parcel of leading me down this pathway of connecting with people, of helping NDEs, of, the hypnosis and all that wonderful stuff that's been brought into my life and others.
Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, I realize that every person's NDE is different from everybody else's.
Yes.
But have you noticed any patterns that are similar between NDE experiencers?
Yes, absolutely. There are, I guess in my mind, I think of them as milestones, but not every experiencer experiences the milestones that I have kind of in my head from reading and seeing and taking people through them. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes there's the light, the, beautiful light, a tunnel. A lot of experiencers have the experience of the life review in many different forms, talking with loved ones, and a lot of experiencers have the experience of having somebody, whether a loved one or guide or God or whoever, say, it's not your time, you need to go back for whatever purpose, right? So yeah, there are lots of different parallels between experiencers. Yeah.
So, since you've had some experiences yourself, as well as helping these people, are you now 100% certain that NDEs are real?
Personally, yes. Yes, I believe that they are real. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain. There's just, after you've seen it yourself, gone through some experiences yourself, and just read so much information and seen so much, videos, and there's so much stuff coming out now. Even just 8 years ago when I was going through information, there was not this amount of information that was coming out every day. You kind of had to scour YouTube to find information. Mm-hmm. But yeah, absolutely. I believe that they're real. Absolutely.
Is there one or two NDE experiences that you have helped people recover that just totally blew you away? And if so, without revealing who the person is, can you give us any information on this?
Yeah. Well, I will. Okay, so I'll talk about I'll talk about Lisa Jones because I did interview her, and I don't think she would mind me talking about a little bit of her experience. So Lisa Jones is a wonderful, wonderful woman, beautiful soul that she experienced a shared death experience. And so I took her through a regression to go back to her shared death experience. And while she was there, she felt that love again, right? It was right there. And she, saw her husband that had passed. And she even was shown some new things, some things that she hadn't seen in her shared death experience, so that these were new to her, and she was being taken around the spirit realm, looking at things and experiencing things. And this was, it was just amazing to me to see her go through this. And I will say, she's the only one that I've interviewed about their experience, but I will say that a lot of the other experiencers that I've interviewed, or not interviewed, taken through regression, they have that sense of connection again, right? They have that sense of love again. It's kind of that all-encompassing feeling, all-encompassing love. And the renewed feeling of connection. And it helps. What I find is it has helped people understand their experience more, and even integrate their experience into their life. Some people have a really hard time coming back, right, into these bodies and trying to live on, in this realm. And so what this regression has shown me is that it's highly beneficial for people that are struggling, maybe, or to understand what happened, or if they just want to have the benefits again, have the understanding and the connection again, if it's lost at all,
First, I want to say Lisa Jones has also been on my podcast. She's number 220. So if you haven't seen that, you can go back and kind of revisit that one. So it sounds like you're a very ethical person. You're not really giving up any information about your clients. What are the ethics in what you do?
Yes. So I will not take anybody through what people are calling a hellish experience, a frightening experience, right? So that doesn't happen. And I understand that some people would like to understand or go through the experience to integrate themselves back into this world, to understand it, to maybe feel better about it. But, morally and ethically, I cannot do that. So there's that. And I do not take anybody through their death. So anything leading up to their death experience, their near-death experience. So what I do with people is I take them to a beautiful place, if they like beaches, if they like gardens, if they like a forest, that's where we go. And then from there, it just integrates into the experience, right? So it's a smooth transition. There's no going back to how you died, anything like that. It's just beautiful place, and then suddenly you're on the other side.
All right, tell me again why you do not regress anybody who's had a hellish experience.
I think it's those things. So I wouldn't want to put them through that experience again, right? Because a lot of this right now is online, I can't be there to help them out, right? Really? Mm-hmm. So, and that's okay. But also I take a lot of my work and what's been done in the past into the present. So past studies, all these past studies by researchers, by doctors, they do not take people through hellish experiences. So I have taken that on as something that, I think is ethically, it's something that I should not be doing.
Do you think that everybody who's had a positive experience should have hypnotherapy because there's a great benefit to it?
I think it's really up to the person, obviously. But I think if you've had a positive experience, it's worth looking into. But I've had people that go into the experience and they get there and they have a guide tell them that, you don't need to do this. You're already integrated, or, you have what you need, right? And then we're done, right? But so not everybody needs to. But if somebody feels in their soul that they're compelled to do this, then I would say yes, I'd go for it.
What about people who are not supposed to remember their experience or things that things that they've learned, like mysteries of the universe and all this?
Yeah.
Do they recapture that, or is it blocked during the session?
Honestly, I haven't gotten there with people. So the people that I've regressed have not had any blocks that they know of. And but that's something that I'm looking into, right? So I really think that's a big question, and I think that would be really interesting to find out.
I read that you do not charge for your services. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So because I'm doing it for the benefit of them, and I talk about my findings at the IANS conference, and I may do some writing about it in the future, and not saying people's names or anything like that, but just the overarching benefits of it. I don't see that I should be charging for it, right? Now, because I have a hypnosis practice that takes up a lot of my time, I probably stick to one person a week, one every 2 weeks. So that's that's that part. Yeah.
I think that's amazing, and I think that's a completely fair exchange, that we can use your information in exchange for that. So you've been regressing people with their NDEs for 2 years?
Off and on, yeah.
2 years. Okay. So over the 2 years, has your work transformed at all?
Absolutely. So my work, the NDE work or my regular work, or both?
The NDE work.
Okay, so the NDE work has really, like I said earlier, kind of transformed in the sense, like, at first I was just focused on NDEs, and I didn't really look at, shared death experience or STE or OBE. And what I'm finding is people are really benefiting from OBEs and shared death experience, like Lisa Jones, and spiritually transformative experiences, right? So, what I'm finding is it's morphing into something that's much broader, right? It doesn't just focus on NDEs. It's helping people experience the other realm, the spirit realm, in their own way, from a past experience, right? They re-experience it because they're looking for more information, or hopefully I get to people that have lost information. It's just morphing into a different, I don't want to say animal, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just a completely, not just NDE, it's more a spiritual umbrella now.
So what inspires you about doing this work?
So what I would say inspires me is just the feeling that the experiencer has after, in between and after their regression. It's so interesting to see. It's so beautiful, say, to see somebody go through the regression and have those feelings of love. Sometimes there's tears, and then move through the regression, just feeling that overwhelming sense of what they had felt years ago, right? And so that really inspires me, thinking about how I can help people in that way, wanting them to feel that again. And then after their regression, the inspiration for me is, how did it help you, right? And some people talk about how, they feel better, they feel, excuse me, more comfortable in their skin now. They, because it's so fresh in their mind, they feel like it's, they're feeling all that good feeling, good vibes. Some of their after effects are I don't want to say ramped up, but like increased, I guess is the right word. Mm-hmm. So, I've had some people that had after effects in their near-death experience, right? And then they feel like it's increased after having reintroducing the experience again, right? So those kinds of things where people really take away something from it, they really benefit from it. That's what gives me inspiration to keep going and keep helping people.
How have you changed personally over the couple of years doing this work?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that personally, I've changed. At first I thought I knew what I would go through, if that makes sense. Like I thought I knew, okay, well, I'll do this, and then people are probably going to do this, and they'll feel this, and it's just going to play out. Just like I thought it was just going to be about NDEs, right? So over the years, I've really kind of experienced lots of different things, right? Lots of different experiences. I take, besides the spiritually transformative experiences and the NDE experiences, I take people through, regular life between lives and past life regression. And so all that together has really pushed along my spiritual sense, I suppose. And it's really made me understand that, not to think I know what's going to happen, but just to go along with it and understand that whatever happens is what's meant to happen, right? And so I would say that it's really opened up my mind on all this stuff. Like I thought my mind was open before, but now it's more open now.
So are you saying that when you have difficult situations within your own life personally, that you just try to accept it and say this is meant to happen?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good, yeah, exactly. Absolutely. From seeing people go through it, reading about it, seeing lots of videos just like yours, people going through experiences, I really believe that, we're on a plan. We're on a life plan that we chose, and anything that's going on in our life is we chose to go through it. As bad as that can be sometimes. I think to myself that going through it is for the betterment of my spiritual self or soul.
Have you had any of your NDE experiencers contact aliens?
Yes. So there was an experiencer who did have contact with aliens. I'm trying to exactly remember. It was a while ago, but she had contact with aliens, and she was on another planet, and they were showing her the life that she was to have, basically. Right? And she didn't want it at all. And it was kind of said to her that, you have to go through this. You have to go through this. You signed up for it, and you're going to go through it. You're going to go through the life. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just a different experience, right? And they didn't look like aliens in the sense that you would think aliens look like. They were kind of like light pillars, I would say, pillars of light. And but she knew, when she looked down at her hands, they looked very alien-like. And she could kind of feel what they looked like. I know that's hard to it's hard to understand, but when she looked at them, she saw pillars, columns of light, but she could kind of make out that they were, it wasn't human, right? She didn't even feel like it was just spirit or guides. It was this life that she had before, where she was kind of on a mission to come to Earth.
Have you had multiple clients who've seen aliens? And if so, has that changed your own viewpoint about if aliens are real or not?
Well, I haven't had multiple. She was the only one. But I will say that I do believe that aliens are real. Yeah, I do believe that aliens are real. And that's because of my regular practice, not because of my NDE regression practice. I take people into past lives as well. That's not free, but I'll talk about it anyway. And that is that's where I've seen people go into lives that they're alien-like, or just light, really. Like they're pure light, and they're coming from like a source light. And so yeah, I've had a lot of people go through that kind of thing where they go to different planets, and they see that, they're kind of taken aback, because a lot of people think that in a past life they're going to a war, or they kind of think they know where they're going, but it's funny when they get there and say, "Oh, I'm a man," right? Or "I'm an alien, I think." So yeah, it's really interesting work, because people have, just incredible experiences. Yeah.
In your regular practice, do people come to you with like a phobia or a problem? Let's say like I'm claustrophobic or whatever, and can you regress me in my past life and see why I'm like that?
Yeah, so sometimes it stems from past life, but sometimes, usually I regress people to this life, way back, to see where that came from. But sometimes people will pop into a past life for that. We just go wherever it started, right? So if it's a past life, that's where they'll go. But if it's this life, that's where they'll go to. Yeah, so definitely you mentioned phobias, claustrophobia. I haven't had anyone go into a past life for claustrophobia. But I have had people go into past lives for eating disorders, or, weight issues. I think I had somebody for smoking go into a past life.
Do your clients usually resolve their problems once they do that?
Yeah, because it's pointing out the issue. So once you notice the issue, that's a level of just smoothing it out, understanding why you do it, and you know, uh, so for example, somebody who has a weight issue, they can regress to a past life. I've had them regress to a past life where they're starving, right? And so when they come into this life, they have an issue with eating, right? They want to eat more. They're worried about lack, right? Lack of food. And so when we go into the past life, there's a noticing that and seeing that and understanding that, why that happened. And there's an understanding of, okay, this is why this is being played out in this life. So we'll go through that, and then we'll work with that child sometimes, or adult that's going through that in the past life, and we'll just say, this is you're okay. This is okay. It's not ideal, but this is okay, and you can handle this. And then we smooth that out, and then we move forward into this life. Now, sometimes in between, we go to life between lives. So sometimes I'll take them into the spirit realm, and they'll go to a place where they can see their life upcoming, right? And usually that's shown as, a room with screens and monitors, and you're looking at it and seeing your life, your new life play out. But sorry, I'm losing track here. But they, in that life between lives now, that's a whole other thing to look at and go, okay, so when I was choosing to have this life and playing it out and seeing all the different plays that I could make, right? This is why I chose to overeat, and these are the challenges I chose for myself, and this is when I'm working it out, and I'm working it out now, and so when you come back to this life, it's you feel so much better. You feel connected to yourself. You feel connected to your soul self, and you're just more aware because you've seen this past life. You understand it, and things are kind of coming together. And when you have that coming together and integration into yourself and knowing yourself, understanding yourself, seeing yourself as a soul, the weight, the weight gain and the eating disorders, they just kind of drop away because you're aware now, and things are, you love yourself more. When you see your soul at that level, whether it's past life or life between lives, it's a whole connection to self-love. I tell clients that, we can look in the mirror all day long and say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and try to have self-love. But until you really connect to yourself, whether that be your younger self, inner child work, soul self, when you really connect on that level, that self-love just comes streaming in. Yeah. So sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, it's okay. So are you saying that everybody chooses their next life in the in-between?
Personally, I believe that they do, and only because I've seen it happen so many times. Whether it's reading about it, watching it, or taking people there myself. Yeah. I really do think that.
Has any of your colleagues ever regressed you into your in-between life or past life?
Yes. So I not long ago, I think in February, I had a quantum healing session by, I don't know, do you know Dolores Cannon?
I know of her.
You know of her, right? So she has QHHT hypnosis, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique. And so I learned that as well. So I'm going through that learning. I'm always learning new ways, right?
That's great.
But I decided, well, I'm learning this. I learned it last year, and I should probably go through it, right? So I went down to Toronto and I had a session, and I went into my past lives. And for me, going into past lives, apparently I always want to go to my death date, like the day I died. So they had a hard time kind of getting me back into the life to play it out. But what happened? I was did you want to know about
well, if you'd like to share some of
yeah,
your
sure.
experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one, I was a very poor man in Asia somewhere, and very I'm not sure what, like when, but it was old. It was generations and generations ago. And I had not wanted to join the army. And I had lost my wife and my son, and I was old. I remember being old, and then I remember that I went into a town and I saw places, or not places. I saw things in this town. I saw people, and then I saw someone that was really interested in me, like coming after me, kind of thing. And then I was chased out of town into this field, and then I was struck down and killed outside of this forest area. And then what was another one? So because my lives were so short in that regression, I went into another one where I was a woman, and I was waiting for my husband to come home, and then found out that my husband had stolen something, and then he was hung, and I went home and wasn't happy, and I ended up committing suicide in that life. So yeah, it was an interesting, very interesting to see. And it things made sense, fears that I might have in this life. I'm trying to think, like that the husband in my second life, where he had stolen something and he was hung, he is my husband now in this life. So that was kind of interesting. And yeah, it was just a really, overall, really, really interesting thing to do.
After having that done, did you have any doubt that you were really seeing your past lives? Or you were certain that you really were?
Yeah, I was certain. And I say that because, and I mean, I take so many people, myself, through it, that I see it from a different perspective, right? And I was certain because things were happening that I would never make up, like I would never go there, right? And it was just all playing out. And the good thing is, the person regressing, and I do this too, is you never ask leading questions, right? You're being led through by the person. And so you're being led through. And for me, when I was in those lifetimes, things were happening just like that, just like in real life. And my mind was just there, and I could see the cobblestone and the old houses and a market area. And yeah, to me, I don't feel like it was made up, because I can't imagine making those things up, right? And also, I should say, because I'm sure some people are wondering, when you die, because usually in a past life regression, you will be taken to you'll go through your life, and then you'll be taken to the day that you die, just to transition properly, right? And learn lessons and understand challenges from that life. And you're not experiencing it. Let's just say that. So you're not feeling anything. It's mainly almost like from an out of body experience, looking down at the person going through whatever, and then it's done, and then your spirit form. So in case people were worried that you might go through some, reaction there to being killed.
So is the process basically you relax a person first, and then, as you said, for the NDEs, let's go to a beach or somewhere, and then once they feel relaxed, you say, okay, then, let's now move to, you were outside of your body and your body was on the side of the road or something.
So they'll be in a beautiful place, whatever they think is beautiful, right? I'll take them wherever they want to go. And then from there, I'll go, okay, so now we're going to think about your intention. Your intention for this session was to experience your NDE, EOB, right? Whatever, right? It's a lot of different kinds. And I'll say, okay, so things are going to fade, and there's like a mist coming in, a beautiful mist. You're going to see light. And at 3, 2, 1, you're there, right? And then they're there, and they're not dying, like I said before. They're already there. They're on the other side experiencing that. And some people go through the whole experience, and some people do snippets, and someone will suddenly be maybe like halfway through their experience. And what I say to people is, whatever you're meant to see today is exactly what you're meant to go through and experience. And because again, some people get there and they're being told, you don't need to be here, like, don't worry about it. Right? And then we come out of it just like that. But whatever you go through is exactly what you're meant to go through.
Is it safe or accurate for me to say, if you are a person who's had a near-death experience and you would like to be regressed in exchange for having your story in a book or presented at IONS conferences, then to go ahead and contact you?
Yeah, so my website will be in the description, I'm imagining, to this video. And you can feel free to go to my website, and then down at the very bottom, there's a submission form, and you can just submit a little form and say, I heard you on this podcast, and I'm wondering if, you have any openings. Right now I'm booked up until late September. So, there would be a little bit of a wait time, but that's okay. People can definitely sign up. And it wouldn't be like a go ahead and book yourself. It would just be a back and forth of us talking about, what a little bit about your NDE, just to make sure that, it's not a bad experience, and what's going on, and the guidelines, and then we book you in. I book you in, and then we go from there.
For people who are listening on iTunes or Spotify or just audio places, what is your website?
Yes, so my website is somhypnosis.com. So somhypnosis.com.
Okay, great. And I believe you have a YouTube channel. What's the name of that?
The name is State of Mind Hypnosis, but I'm not actually sure if it's a big enough channel to... Whenever I look it up, I can never find it. So I'm not sure, but I can give you the link, and it can be below. Yeah. I'm not sure how to share that on here.
Yeah, if I get the link from you, I'll put it in the description.
For sure.
So you've got your regular practice, you're doing NDE people, you're maybe working on a book. What else do you got going on that you want us to know about?
I guess I'm speaking at IANS at the end of this month. Beginning of September 5th, I think, is my date of speaking. So people can tune in on there. They can find the information on the IANS website. And not much more. That's a lot of stuff that I have going on. I really I sometimes wonder how I do it all, but it's nourishing to my soul, so it's easy to do, right? It's not. A lot of people ask me, oh my gosh, it must be so much energy loss, right? But I'm constantly working with energy and pulling through information and working with people's guides and my guides, and that's how I do my hypnosis sessions. So
is that IANS session, is that like a national conference or some kind of national online thing, or is that like something at a local city?
It's online this year, so it's ians.org, IANDS.org, and right on their website you can click onto the conference and it'll tell you speakers, it'll tell you dates, it'll have where to register, all that stuff. Yeah, it's a national conference.
Thing. All right, now you've mentioned guides. Does everybody have their own guardian angel or spirit guide?
Yes, I would say yes. From the work that I've done, I haven't come across anybody yet that does not have a guide. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is they don't always look the same, right? I've had people come into my office or online and have guides that are animals, have guides that are light, pure light, have guides that are deceased family members, or or a random person that they have never seen before. And so I would say from my own understanding and seeing, I would say that yes, everybody has a guide or multiple guides for them during their life and throughout their life. I believe that guides can change up depending on what you're going through, right?
If you don't mind me asking, what are your religious beliefs?
Yeah, that's okay. So I believe that, so I didn't grow up with any religion. I believe that when we pass, we go to the spirit realm, and we go through our life review, and we understand it, and we understand how it affected other people, our lives, and multiple people from there on. And then we have a resting period, and then we get ready for our next life if we choose to have a next life. But yeah, I do believe that we go somewhere, and we have a connection to a soul group, and we work with that soul group throughout lifetimes.
I've had quite a few people say that they've experienced Jesus or experienced God. Have you had that?
I have experienced Jesus, and that's surprising to me because I was not raised with Jesus as a part of my life. And so I first experienced him in a meditation, and he gave me like a blue stone, and in my meditation, and I really I was taken aback, right? Because I had never connected to him before. I wasn't raised with him in my life. And so that was really interesting to me. And so even to this date, if I'm having trouble, or if I, want to meditate, sometimes I'll reach out to, the Jesus idol. But I would say that Jesus is not the only idol, right? He's not the only one. And I do believe, because I'm not, I don't know a lot about religions. But I would say that, people connect who they're going to connect to, right, in that lifetime. And I think whoever that they're connecting to is who they're supposed to be connecting to. There's no right or wrong, person to connect to. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wasn't posing it at you, but I'm glad you answered it that way. What I kind of wonder is if any of your clients have ever said, well, I've connected with the source creation or the source creator or God or, something like that as well, or Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a vast spectrum of different things that they've connected to. Some people, and I had this a lot actually, is people will go into hypnosis and see an eye, an eye that is much like, they describe it like the eye from Egyptian script.
Right.
And it's an interesting way of seeing source, because they call it source, this eye. And I often wondered about it, because it's come up a lot. It's come up a lot, and these people don't know each other, right? So I'm very interested in what this is. And so excuse me, when it first came up, I thought, okay, it's an eye, that's source. And the person, I remember this specifically, the person I was working with wasn't quite sure, she wasn't getting answers to her questions very easily, right? So she was asking a guide, the universe. And so I thought, it came in my head, okay, she's seeing this eye, why not pose your questions to the eye, this eye thing, right? And suddenly she was just, all her questions were being answered, which was incredible. But people have seen or felt the universal feeling of love when they get there. They have seen Jesus. They've seen source in different forms. Again, like guides come in different forms, animal form, light form. Some people have seen source like a giant sun, and they get pulled towards the sun, and when they're in the sun, they become expanded and feel, wonderful all over, and that love is there, right? And so I would say it's such a vast spectrum of experiences. I don't know of one that's exactly the same, right?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I've never heard of anybody tell me that they saw an all-seeing eye. Maybe like, I don't know if they call that the eye of Ra, or the Egyptian eye, or even like that what's on the $1 bill, the eye. And I wonder if, ancient Egyptians had experienced that, and that's why they use the symbol.
Yeah, maybe. I've often wondered, because that came up a lot. I haven't had it in a while, but there was like, it's funny because things will come up in, like I'll have a couple months of parallels between people, and then it'll change, and it's an interesting business. But that's interesting about the eye. I should really look that up. I'm surprised I haven't so far, but yeah.
All right, Hilary. Well, I'm running out of time. But before we go, do you have one last positive message that you can share with everyone?
Yeah. Well, I will say that what I've learned from regressing people, learning about NDEs and experiences of all kinds is just to be kind to one another and think about and just to, I guess, reference the book I'm working on is Love's Ripple Effect. That's what I'm calling it, Love's Ripple Effect. And so this is the effect that one person, your soul, has on the next soul, has on the next soul, has on the next soul in a rippling effect, right? And where that came to me is from NDEers' experience in their life review. And how they saw it rippling out into the world, just little experiences that they would have with people. And so, yeah, so I would say to people that, be kind and think about your effect on others and think about the effect you can have on the world, and know that even just the smallest hello, or opening a door for somebody, or being kind to somebody, giving them a hug, can change their day, right? And it can change way more than just that person, right? It can change how that person now interacts with another person and another person, another person. And so, yeah, I would say that. Be kind.
Well, thank you for that message. And Hilary, thank you so much for giving us your time today. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a successful conference with IONS. And I wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.